Hey, welcome to Prayer and Practice. My name's Ian, and today I want to introduce you to a concept I like to call holy acceleration. Once you understand this concept, it's going to change the way you view your past, your present, and your future. One of the best examples of this concept can be found in an often overlooked story in the book of Jonah. You see, Jonah was supposed to go and preach repentance to the city of Nineveh, right? God had a special plan for him, but he tried going the opposite way. And so he got on a ship and he was headed to a place called Tarshish, which is out in Spain. It's almost 3,000 miles the opposite direction of Nineveh. So he gets on the boat and, all of a sudden there's this big storm. He gets thrown overboard, and God sends a big fish to swallow him, right? And that's the part of the story most people are familiar with, right? But there's an even greater miracle, although maybe I shouldn't call it a greater miracle, but there's an often overlooked miracle that takes place immediately after he comes out of the fish. So that miracle is what I like to call holy acceleration. If you read Jonah chapter 3, it says after Jonah was vomited up on this dry land, it says that Nineveh was a 3 days walk, but Jonah began to enter on the first day. And see, the Bible doesn't actually explain how Jonah was able to go a 3 days journey in one day. I have a few theories. One of the theories I like to talk about, I call it the scrunched rug theory, which is that God somehow compressed time and space temporarily like a rug. He scrunched it up and somehow allowed Jonah to, step over it, and then he straightened it back out. Now, there isn't really any evidence for that, but, it's kind of cool to think that maybe Jonah entered some kind of time warp. But all that aside, it highlights what I like to call holy acceleration. You see, Jonah was trying to go the opposite way, but when he finally gave everything over to God, like when he was in the belly of the fish, he cried out to God, and he repented of trying to do things his own way, and he cried out to God for deliverance, and God heard his prayer. And you would think that maybe God would put him on probation or something, would have been like, well, you kind of shirked your duties, and I don't know if I can trust you, and so maybe now it was going to happen quickly, but now it's going to take 10 times longer. No, that's not what God did. As soon as Jonah committed himself to the Lord and to the Lord's mission, God made it happen immediately, right? Like what should have taken 3 days for Jonah to get to Nineveh took him 1 day, right? And so if you feel like, maybe you've been going the opposite way, maybe you have wasted years, you've been doing things your own way, and you're like, I've blown it, right? You think you've blown it, you've gone too far in the wrong direction. Maybe you've made it all the way to Tarshish, right? Maybe you're 3,000 miles away from Nineveh, right? Well, I want you to know that just like with Jonah, if you commit yourself to the Lord, if you cry out to the Lord and you say, God, I want to do your purposes for my life instead of my purposes, he can accelerate things at a rate that will make your head spin, right? Things that would have taken you years or maybe even decades, he can do in days or weeks. One drop of God's favor is worth more than an ocean of human effort, right? When your heart is fully aligned with God's will, he makes it happen, right? And you may not see the way, but God sees the way. And so if you're willing to give your dreams over to God and you're willing to do things his way, he will cause an acceleration in your life like you've never seen before. I can attest to this in my own life. You see, I started this YouTube channel about 3 months ago. Well, almost 4 months ago at this point. And you see, when I started this YouTube channel, I thought, I want to reach the world for God. I want to do things for His kingdom. But, it's probably going to be a long time before I have any impact. I thought, I'm starting out and I'm small, and it's probably going to take me at least a year to reach 1,000 subscribers. But, as I was making videos, I started praying to God. I said, Lord, please use me for your kingdom, and I want you to use me to bless the whole world. I want you to use me, Lord, to bless everyone everywhere, right? I want you to do things through me that bless people on every part of the globe. And so I kept praying that God, use me for your kingdom. And so one of the first things I posted was a short of my baptism video. Now, I was baptized at Elevation Church about almost 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years in August. And I posted that short. And the day I posted it, I maybe got 30 views. And then weeks and weeks went by, and nothing was really happening. It took me, I would say it took me 2.5, almost 3 months to get to 300 subscribers. And then, I was kind of joking with God, and, I prayed, I'm like, Lord, I want you to accelerate things. I want you to blow my mind. I want you to, I want you to take the reins, and I want you to I want you to do it, Lord. Do what I can't do. And so, I told the Lord, I said, I want you to have your way. And I was just praying that, and all of a sudden, my baptism video starts getting all these views. Months after it was posted, it just starts going up exponentially. And I thought it was going to take me 1,000, or I thought it was going to take me a year to get to 1,000 subscribers. Once that video took off, I hit 1,000 subscribers in a day. And then the next day I gained another 1,000 subscribers. And then I gained 2,000 subscribers the day after that. And then 3,000 subscribers the day after that. Until now I'm up to almost 25,000 subscribers. Now, I can't take any credit for this. I had nothing to do with this. Alright? Like, this is all God. I give Him all the glory. And I want to say thank you to everybody that has subscribed and supported me through all my videos. Like, I've gotten comments from people in England, Australia. I've gotten comments from people in Brazil, Mexico, Nigeria, all over the world, like hundreds of countries. I've gotten all these comments all over the world, with people encouraging me, telling me that my videos are blessing them and that they're changing their lives. And, that prayer that I pray that God would use me and my testimony and my life to bless people all over the world, He's doing it. He's literally doing it right before my eyes. Something that I thought would maybe take years, He's literally accelerated beyond my wildest dreams. And this is really important to me. Like, it really puts things in perspective to me, because you see, back when I was like 18, I had a period of time where everybody, like literally everybody, I would leave my house, I'd go out to the grocery store, or I'd go to church or whatever, and everywhere I was going, people were stopping me and telling me, you should become a minister, or you should become a pastor. And at the time, I was struggling with anger towards God, and I didn't want to do that because I thought I'd be a hypocrite. I thought, I know a lot about the Bible, but I don't know if I could get up in front of people and actually, give sermons in good faith at this time. And so I would always kind of like tell people, thank you for that compliment, but, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I could really do that. And deep down inside, I was being very carnal, because I thought, I use a wheelchair, and nobody's going to take what I say seriously anyway. I thought, if I get up in front of a church and I start giving a sermon, all they're going to see is my chair. They're not really going to listen to me. And I thought, how am I going to be able to get up in front of people and tell them how much God loves them and that He can heal them when, maybe they might doubt that He's done that for me, looking at my physical condition. And so I decided to become a mechanical engineer, right? That was my version of going to Tarshish, right? Like Jonah. I went the opposite way. And so I went to school and I became a mechanical engineer, and I got my degree, and then, it took me a lot longer than normal. It took me almost 10 years to get a 4-year degree because, I couldn't balance school and physical therapy at the same time. And so I spent almost 10 years getting this degree. And then when I graduated, some things had changed, and I wasn't able to actually get a job in that field. And so I felt like, I just wasted 10 years, and I just went 3,000 miles in the opposite direction. How can God ever do anything in my life? And so I was really, really broken and really starting to despair a little bit. And then I remembered my baptism, and I thought, I know I mentioned it in one of my other videos, but I thought about that song, Graves to Gardens, and I started remembering, He's the God that can make dead things come back to life. And, I remember reading that God works all things for the good of those who love Him. He works all things together for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. And I started looking back on the events of my life and all the things, and I started to realize that even if I had screwed up, even if I had gone the opposite way, that, I now love God. After my baptism, that was one of the things that changed. I now love God. See, prior to my baptism, I didn't love God. I knew of Him, but I didn't love Him. But after my baptism, I truly loved Him. And I looked at that promise that God works all things together for those that love Him. And I started to realize that, God can work all this for His kingdom. He can put all these things together in a way that I don't fully understand. And so I just started praying, God, I want You to redeem all my wasted time. I want You to redeem all my wasted years. I want You to redeem all of this. And it's been almost 4 years since I've been baptized. And sure enough, He has redeemed it. Because now I'm reaching people all over the world for His kingdom in a way that I never thought I would have. Right? And so all those years ago, people were telling me, Ian, you should go and be a minister, or you should be a pastor. And I said, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't think I've got what it takes to do that. And here I am, all these years later, essentially pursuing and doing the thing that I probably should have been doing 10 years ago, right? And so I feel like Jonah. I went in the opposite direction because I didn't want to go where God wanted me to go. But when I finally decided that I was going to do things God's way, just like Jonah, he made what should have been a 3-day journey a 1-day journey. And so I'm here to tell you, if you've been going the opposite way, if you've been trying to do things your own way, if you think you've gone too far, I just want you to know, if you give it all over to God, if you say, Jesus, I want to serve your kingdom. I lay down my kingdom. It's not about my kingdom. It's all about your kingdom. I promise you that whatever he has planned for you, he can accelerate it in ways that you could never even comprehend. And so, if you're despairing today, that you think, you've gone too far in the opposite direction, you haven't. I promise you that you haven't. God works all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his promises. Right? And so the thing is if you truly love God, if you truly want to seek his kingdom, he will make it happen. He will make it happen. He will provide everything that you need to do his will. Okay? And so, if your dream is to do something that's opposite of his will, don't expect him to accelerate it. Don't expect him to, take you there overnight if it's something that's opposite his will. Because he's not going to accelerate something that sends you in the opposite direction of where he needs you to be. And so if something's taking really long, or you feel like you've been spinning in circles, it may be time to pray to God and ask him, am I actually heading in the direction you want me to go? I mean, sometimes it does take a long time to get to where he wants you to go. Sometimes he doesn't accelerate things. But sometimes if it's taking an inordinately long amount of time, that can be a sign that you might be going in the opposite direction. It may also be a sign you're going in the right direction. But it's times like that you need to ask God, am I actually going where you want me to go? Am I actually doing what you want me to do? Okay? So, and it's okay to ask God to, send you a message, either through his word or through dreams or by an angel. It's okay to ask God, confirm with me what you want me to do in my life, right? And sometimes he will answer that prayer, and he'll make it really obvious. Sometimes you'll get spat out by the fish right on the shore where you need to be. But other times, it might be a gentle whisper, right? Sometimes, you think, well, maybe it's surely in the fire, it's surely in the wind, or it's surely in the earthquake. But a lot of times it's in the whisper, right? The only way you can tell what God is truly saying to you is you got to be in tune with his whisper. And so, I just want to thank everybody that has subscribed. I feel so honored and so blessed to be able to share my life with you guys, and I just really, I love you guys, and I pray every day for my subscribers. Every day I pray, Lord, bless my subscribers and protect them, and I just pray, that God would give you all wisdom, and that he would help you to hear his voice, and that he would accelerate things in your life so that you can actually get to where he needs you to be. Right? I pray that you would all experience the same kind of holy acceleration that I've experienced. Right? And so I'm just so blessed to be able to bless you guys. And if this has really blessed you, I'd like to encourage you, to like and subscribe, because that helps more people hear this message. And if you have an instance where God has done a holy acceleration in your life, maybe there was something you thought would take years or months, and he did it overnight for you, or maybe you've gone in the opposite direction and you've been wondering what direction you should go, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments about God's acceleration in your life, or the things you'd like to see accelerated in your life. Until next time, God bless you, and stay safe. Keep praying, keep practicing. Have a good evening. Bye.